Namaste everyone. Good evening. We are here with yet another session. Today we are here with Narendra Kumar. He is a PhD scholar in the Department of Neurovirology in the National Institute of Mental Health and Neuroscience, NIMHANS, Bengaluru. With this small introduction, I would like everyone to know that today's session is more about the exploration of his journey, which would be a landmark for our learning or for the goal-oriented. So let's see that how we can learn from the scholar which today we are invited on our platform on your growth. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So thank you, Bhavit, for having me here. First, I would really like to thank you for having me here, Dr. Bhavit. And it's really pleasure to be with you. And I'll be very happy if this exploration helps at least one person out there, it will be a great achievement for me. So yeah, with this we can begin. You can have.
So my first question would be to you that what is your educational background and how did, what was the challenges during your educational pursuing, whatever you have perceived till today? What were the challenges as you belong to a very small village? How you came to NIMHANS? It's very surprisingly that from a village of Bihar, you came to NIMHANS. So what was the story behind it? What were the challenges you have faced in your life?
Yeah, so actually I come from a very small village in East Champaran. That's East Champaran district in Bihar. We have hardly some, not more than 50, around 50 houses with over 50 to 60 houses with over around 600 people. So during that time, that kind of village I belong to. And my education literally varied between very many towns and states. Since my father was in army, and army, it's a transferable job. So I studied in Deolali. It's near the Nashik, Maharashtra, Mumbai. I studied in Talbehat. It's in Jhansi, Uttar Pradesh. I was for some time in Pune, and then Hansi Mara, that is in West Bengal, and then finally I ended up doing my class 10 from Jila school. Jila school in Bihar is each and every district you will have one Jila school, and during our time, being in Jila school was very prestigious. So I ended up finishing my class 10 from Jila school, which comes under Bihar School Examination Board. And then I did my class 12. For that, I went to Ranchi, and there I was in a school named Guru Nanak Higher Secondary School, which was the board was CBSE. And then I did my BSc in biotechnology. That was again from Ranchi only. There is a college, Marwadi College, which comes under Ranchi University. It's autonomous. We were the first batch when the college became autonomous. And afterwards, I ended up in Bangalore, and I did my master's in microbiology from the Oxford College of Science, which is in necessarily out Bangalore. It comes under Bangalore University. And then I worked for almost 4.5 years, and finally ended up for PhD in neurovirology. And yeah, so this is what about my study till now.
But my question would be to you that throughout the journey, there would be some challenges, that how you fought with that, and how would your challenges and how you try to overcome with that what were the opportunities you have created in that challenges?
Yes. So so first of all, since my father's job was transferable job, so just getting into different schools itself is a challenge. You get new environment, but the best part is, which I realize now, that when you get into different schools, it prepares you to adjust in different kind of environment. Which during the early before class 10th, that sort of training I had. I was in an English medium school in Deolali, Nashik, and then I came in Bihar board, which is totally Hindi medium. In Bihar board, the English language, they starts A, B, C, D. Now they start early, but during our time, A, B, C, D was just starting from class 6. So you can imagine. So I had come from an English medium, then I went to Hindi medium. So why I ended up in Bihar, in Bihar board, because my grandfather wanted me to study in Bihar so that I can learn all the values, ethics, what we have in our district, in our state and all. So that was his point of view. And it was very challenging there, from English medium to again in Hindi medium. And then again, I went to Ranchi in that class 11th and 12th, that again there started, it started with English medium. So I was by the time I learned Hindi and forgot English, then again I went to English, and I knew only Hindi, not English. So it was a very challenging challenging time for me. Like English was like very really difficult. And anybody from Bihar board, like they don't teach us English, so it was very difficult time for me. But you know what? You mean what I know is like, see, I have since childhood my grandfather used to say like you know that whales, no, you'll have whales in Hindi. So you use this wheat not wheat, that thread, no, that jute thread, right? So that thread you use to take out the water, and that thread usually like the rassi in basically that jute ka rassi. So that you use to take out the water, and that used to create mark on those rocks, right? So that thinking was already put up in my brain by my grandfather. So I was like, even though I don't understand, I kept reading, and like in when I was in Ranchi, I used to get English paper. I was very like I was not able to read at all, and like I was able to read but not able to understand at all. So I had a dictionary, and then I used to like basically I did a lot of effort to understand English. And during that time also I was working as a freelancer for Nokia. Like I used to make themes for them, and there also everything was in English. The communication was in English. So those people also, the working with Nokia also helped me, because all the mails and all was in English. So there also I learned. And finally, like, it's practice. The more you practice, the more perfect you become. So basically I did that, and then like I became like kind of fluent in English. And now right now I'm talking with you in English, so you can, yes.
So definitely there are many challenges throughout our life, but how we see those challenges, it's a question, or it's that answer you have given to me also, that if challenges are there, that how we should overcome by giving efforts every day.
Yes.
That's how you will change your learning and perspective towards it. So my next question would be, so you have done so many training programs. So in which, like, how was your role in setting up acute febrile illness surveillance at Deoria District Hospital? Because it's a kind of a district hospital. So what were the challenges and how you set up acute febrile illness?
Yeah, fine. So actually, there was a project titled Providing Laboratory Support for the Surveillance of Japanese Encephalitis in India. So this project, after finishing my master's, I worked in a pharma company for a few months, and then I joined NIMHANS initially as a laboratory coordinator, and later I was promoted as a project coordinator. So when I was a project coordinator, this opportunity came to me. Like I was in a district hospital, they were looking after all the acute encephalitis syndrome patients. Like my job was to collect data. Like it was to find the reason, what is the actual cause behind this acute encephalitis syndrome. And we found most of the major reasons, we like pathogens, basically, we were able to detect and tell to the government. So during that time, you know what happened, no? Many of the febrile illness, like the fever patients, no, they were like kind of progressing towards acute encephalitis syndrome at later point of time. So we, like our team, like Professor V. Ravi was he's my mentor. I mean, even right now also, and he was like principal investigator for that project. So it was a collective idea. Like if we could identify these pathogens during the febrile illness phase only and treat them, so that, I mean, in that case, if we are able to treat them during the acute febrile illness phase only, they will not be able to progress towards acute encephalitis syndrome. So that is when it comes. And you see, acute encephalitis syndrome patients, you will have lower than that of febrile illness. Like you see many febrile illness patients. So there we wanted to test for many pathogens. So these pathogens, like it started with the scrub typhus, dengue, JE, and then West Nile virus, and then influenza, H1N1. Like so many pathogens we wanted to test. So the challenge there was, like, it's a district hospital. You get patients will come for the treatment. So our job was to, like, when patients come for treatment, collaborate with the clinicians and get their blood samples, of course, with all the consent and approvals and everything. Get their sample, test them, provide the report on time. And so this acute febrile illness project, it was set up at not only at district hospital Devariya, it was also set up at the PHC. PHC is like primary healthcare center, Rampur Karkhana. So you see what is the habit, no? If you go to the field, you see the habit of the people. If they have some sort of fever, no, first of all, what they will do, no, they will go to some shop, they will take some antibiotic and maybe paracetamol, and they will take it up for 1 day or 2 days. Second day, if they are not well, then they will go to PHC, and then they will take the medication. That they will try for 3-4 days, 2 to 3 days mostly. And if they are not well, then they will end up to district hospital Devariya. So our idea was, as early as possible, if we catch them, we'll be able to treat. So we also started it at primary healthcare center, Rampur Karkhana. And they are also like, see, to detect most of the common pathogens, you have rapid antigen testing kits. Like, for example, you see scrub typhus, you have rapid. Dengue, you have NS1. And see, NS1 works very fine. If you have a dengue fever, no, NS1 antigen detection, during the early phase of infection, no, it works very fine. You will be able to detect dengue virus. So the idea was detect early, treat early. And the second thing was, when we were doing that surveillance, we set up the surveillance with the help of like the district magistrate, surveillance medical officer, and then chief medical officer, chief medical superintendent, all those people, like, and of course the help from the government of Uttar Pradesh. That all those collaboration was taken care by Professor V. Ravi. So we were able to do, we had a very, like, I really had a very nice team there, and they all were fantastic people. They all did a fantastic job. So during that phase, we were able to identify, like, for example, you see scrub typhus or dengue or JE, what are some hot spots? Like when you get patient, when we were getting the patient, and at the end of the week, when we were analyzing the data, we were getting some villages had like kind of outbreak kind of situation. And those reports we were sharing with the district malaria officer. Basically, they are surveillance officer, and then they used to go and then they used to do all this fogging and to control basically the mosquitoes and all, and to educate the people to protect themselves from the mosquitoes, so that all this can be controlled. So if you see in the government system, there are many challenges, but I'll not focus much on the challenges. I would, in a simple way, I will just tell, like, see, each and every government wants to work. They want to help people. There are, like, old school style, like people who are in government job, like they feel a bit, relaxed when people are in government job. But many of them works very well, fantastic. And that is why the system is still running, the old system, but it's still running. So with me, like most of the people with me were like fantastic people, and they all work very well. Like I don't have anything bad to say about anyone. It was fantastic, and it was a collective effort of all of us. So this was it about acute febrile illness surveillance setup.
So I've heard about that you have seen the AES outbreak. What was AES in 2019, and how you have set up a team in Muzaffarnagar, Bihar. Muzaffarnagar, Bihar in June 2019 by the government of India. And what was your role, and what was the team spirit, what you have taken through to control all in that period of time?
So actually, see, I was working with acute encephalitis syndrome patients since 2015, and so I have been working with acute encephalitis syndrome patients since 2015. So and acute encephalitis syndrome, people call it chamki bukhar, dimagi bukhar. These are the various names of acute encephalitis syndrome. And you see, Muzaffarpur is yet another belt, but before that, Gorakhpur division, entire Gorakhpur division. When I say Gorakhpur division, there are almost 8 districts which comes under Gorakhpur division, along with few districts from Lucknow, like Sitapur and all those, and Basti also there is one district. So these are like kind of endemic for acute encephalitis syndrome. So we had an experience of working. So the same team that was set up in Muzaffarpur outbreak, I was like kind of, Dr. V. Ravi, it was set up by the central government, like government of India. And Dr. V. Ravi, my mentor, he was part of the central team. And he went there and he got to know what the situation is like. And then he sent me along with one of my senior colleague, Dr. Shafi. We went there via Professor V. Ravi, and like there were some 5 people in the team, one of which was Professor V. Ravi, and he sent us. So when you go into outbreak investigation, any outbreak investigation, so first thing is like to treat the patient who are already suffering. That is the first thing you do, right? I'm not a clinician. I'm basically a researcher. Fine. So our job was to identify the causative agent behind it. And by the time we went, we already had one paper which was published in Lancet. The claim was like it's a lychee which contributes in acute encephalitis syndrome, which is happening in Muzaffarpur division. we had that information already with us. When we went there, so our job was to like basically identify the pathogen which is causing, not pathogen, whatever reason it is. As a researcher, like whatever it is, whatever is the reason, you have to find the reason. So that was our job. So and when you work there, you will have many government organizations, many agencies, and all those things. And like it's a really very tough challenge with. And I was probably I was the junior most person there. I mean, I was very young. Yes, and so the job, like we started with NIV Pune was there, and then NCDC was there, and ICMR, NI, National Institute of Epidemiology, all those people were there. CDC India office was there. So we started first with the sample collection. Is there any pathogen and all? So that part was taken care. That part was being taken care by NIV, because they also they are National Institute of Virology, and they are supposed to test for the any virological agents. NCDC was testing for bacterial reagents like for Rickettsia or Leptospira and all. When Professor V. Ravi came back to NIMHANS, he had a meeting with NIMHANS faculties, and they brainstormed what might be the reason. Fine. So, in NIMHANS, we also had Dr. Rita Christopher. She does TMS, tandem mass spectrometry, right? So we wanted to see, is there any metabolic imbalance which is happening with maybe in these kids, which is causing this encephalitis. So we collected something called DBS, dry blood spots. Fine. So we collected some DBS, and although all these samples, which was, since it was emergency case, it was allowed by the government of Bihar and government of India to collect these samples. And whenever we collected, like there was a protocol that their blood sugar has to be tested twice a day. So whenever that blood sugar was about to be, like the blood collection was about to happen for the blood sugar testing, that time we were going and collecting that DBS, because we did not wanted to see. My idea of whenever we do any sort of research or any outbreak investigation, I'm very like, I don't prefer pricking patients just for the sake of research. If they are getting some sort of benefit out of it, then only you should prick. You should, I am totally like, I always prefer. In some cases, people do that. We also have done that, but mostly we try to compensate in terms of some sort of result, like some sort of testing report. And in between, like if something is being done, we also get this thing done. Like not specifically for this purpose. So when those bloods were getting collected, we also took DBS and we sent here. And it was identified that it was mitochondrial dysfunction, and it was communicated that cocktail of vitamin like carnitine and all those things will help patient. And when they started treating them with this vitamin cocktail, they started recovering well. So this was one experience in 2019, and by God grace, since then such outbreak has not happened in Muzaffarpur yet. Yes, so this was.
So thank you so much for your efforts, for your team efforts, that they have brought out the results, which is helpful not for a place called Muzaffarpur, but the whole India. The research studies will help throughout the India whenever this kind of outbreaks. It should not come. If comes, there would be help from the study what you have done. So how you came across the institute called NIMHANS, and how your journey started as a PhD scholar in the institute called NIMHANS?
Yeah, so this is a very nice question. Thank you for this. So, during our masters, we used to have we are supposed to do some project like for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. So during my Oxford College of Science tenure, we were supposed to do project, and we were looking for project in different companies. We went to Apollo, Fortis, MTR, all those different like food companies, and then pharma companies, and then diagnostic labs. Many places we went. We were able to crack a few of them, and but it's also preferences. I am very choosy since childhood, very choosy. Like even though you are like saying okay to me, I would not come to you. Like I see many things before coming to anybody or before mingling with anyone. So that habit was there. For the project thing also. Like I'll just give one little example before that. When I came to Oxford College of Science, I had a list of questions for my principal or vice principal. I happened to meet with vice principal, and I asked her a lot of questions. And she even tells now he's the only one student who had come up with a list of questions, and he asked all of those questions to me. So we had so for this NIMHANS thing, we had got few labs where they asked like you can come and work and get your project work done. So when we were just this Hosu road, we were just traveling, and me with my friends, we just I only just tell ki this is an enhance, maybe you can try here. And they were like, oh, you think this is a brain like Nimans National Institute of Mental Health, it's a big thing, right? You think they will take MSc people for the project purpose? I was just like, okay, we will try, we'll see what happens. And we happened to came to like, see, I was doing MSc microbiology, so we went to microbiology department. And by the time we went to microbiology department, we had some 10 plus my own classmates who already were there, right? And they were like, oh, we already have occupied the space, we will not be able to get it in. So we could not meet we couldn't meet any of the faculty there. Some of them only suggested ki on top of this department you have neurovirology, you should try there. I went there and I met with the professors and a few other staffs. So they did not have vacancy. They redirected me to Dr. Manjunath MD. He is my currently PhD supervisor, and that time he happened to be a senior scientific officer. We went and met him, and he also did not have slot, but somehow he liked us. He actually loves mentoring a student, so somehow he kind of liked us, and he told me like, if you don't get any better place, you let me know later on. So we went back, and later on we just messaged we have not got any good opportunity, and he happened to like, okay, come, we'll see. And then he allowed us to work. And during our so that was first interaction with the NIMHANS. For that 3 months, like that's a very small period, we learned so many things. For the project we did immunophenotyping of PVMC of the human blood, and then we also did effect of rabies vaccine by different routes. We also did which dengue virus serotype is prevalence in the Bangalore. That was our MSc project, and we found that dengue virus 2 was prevalent in Bangalore during that time. So we in 3 months we happened to do 3 projects. Of course, like all not together, there were people who were doing it. We became part of it. So this was the interaction. And then after finishing masters, I happened to go to industry for 4 months and again come back to Nimans. And since I am here in Nimans only.
So the journey was very inspiring in terms of learning perspective, that you should not think that you cannot reach there. You have to continuously try efforts. A day will come when you will reach at that place. So my question would be to you next, that as you were being in the journey where COVID was the outbreak, and it was the sad time for all country. But during that time, you were the one which department can be taken at the utmost importance throughout the country. So what was the opportunity you have taken, and you have done the research work for the country during that period of time?
Yeah. So by the time COVID came, I'll tell you, I took admission for the PhD in 2019, December 5th was my date of admission. And 31st December 2019, China announced that we have a new virus which appears like SARS, right? And then on 31st of January 2020, we had first case in India. That was in Kerala. So I was about to do PhD. I was all well prepared. I was about to do PhD on chikungunya virus, which indeed I'm working on, and I'm published paper for the same. Professor V. Ravi, he was then head of the department, and he suggested me, whatever you want to do, fine, you can do later also. But right now, coronavirus is important. COVID is very important. This is once in a lifetime opportunity for any of the virologists. You don't get it very frequently. It's once in a lifetime opportunity. And our department did that. It's like each and every person of our department has contributed. I mean, of course, entire this healthcare fraternity have contributed, but I have seen my department closely, so I can tell more about that. So each and every person have contributed. This SARS-CoV-2 testing, how big havoc it was, right? And you see the girls' power also, you see there. The first 3 person who started sample processing of COVID-19 was 2 ladies, 1 senior scientific officer, 1 PhD scholar, and third was me. So 2 ladies and 1 guy. We started first sample processing in Nimhans in April, 3rd or 4th April 2020. Our department, we started testing, and Dr. V. Ravi was like a member of technical advisory committee. Dr. Manjunath was taking care of all the testing. Like testing was the biggest thing that time, right? Like you need to identify like who is positive, who is negative. Until you don't identify, you cannot do anything. Like in the isolation and all those things. So, and also Government of India designated NIMHANS to mentor other labs, to establish labs for COVID testing. And like NIMHANS, Department of Neurovirology specifically, were able to establish 220 plus labs in Karnataka itself to test SARS-CoV.
It's a very good number, actually.
Yes, yeah. Like Karnataka was one of the best state to perform during that time. So you see, the testing was going on, and then advisory was going on. This lockdown happened in between, and I happened to get the data. Like of SARS-CoV-2 epidemiological data. Like initially when SARS-CoV-2 came, so who is getting from which person and how is this like kind of spreading? All those things was very important, and we did not have information, right? So I happened to get the line list for three months almost, like March, April, May, 3 month line list. So why I got those line list, access to the line list? Because I was doing PhD on SARS-CoV-2, about to do PhD on SARS-CoV-2. And Dr. Ravi is like, you take this data and take out some samples, like symptomatic, asymptomatic data you take out, like the samples you take out to isolate the virus. Fine. So I took that, and once a researcher, always a researcher. I was more curious about like how this disease is spreading, basically. Fine. So I went through the line list, and I started looking some, like, if I can get some insight out of it. I had used some tools during my Nokia days, like I used to access links. Where does my link and all those things goes? So I used some tools, and I was able to do cluster analysis, like who is spreading more, who is spreading less. So we happened to do a very nice analysis, and we could discover that it's a symptomatic patient who has spread the SARS-CoV-2 infection more. See, it's very obvious. Symptomatic means you will have symptoms, like you will cough, you will sneeze. So that means you will spread the virus more. Asymptomatic means you will sit quiet, you will not be able to spread more. It's a common sense, right? But science doesn't work with common sense, no? It needs proof, it needs backup, right? That is what Professor V. Ravi says. Like, it's all common sense, but you need proof. You cannot say it plainly. When I did that analysis, we found proof for this common sense, right? And I shared with Professor V. Ravi, and then he shared with many people. And out of those findings, we wrote a paper which was published in eClinical Medicine, like it's a Lancet Group journal. And based on those findings, the government also revised their guideline. So the guideline was, we also found that oldest people were at more risk. So testing, isolating, and basically taking care of old people is important during the first wave. This was the guideline. And irrespective, like we also suggested, like irrespective of any contact, like the contact history with the positive case, even though if you have a symptom, you should get tested and isolate yourself. So all those things we suggested, and the government took up these policy suggestions, and they implemented later on. So this was one big achievement. And we also contributed to the serosurveillance later on, like what is the percentage of people who already have antibodies against the SARS-CoV-2 virus, basically how many of them are protected. And yeah, like that it went. And later on, our NIMHANS was the first to detect variants also in the country. So like sequencing also started in NIMHANS. Dr. Chitra, she was heading up the sequencing team that time. So yeah, as a department, we have contributed a lot, and each and every person have contributed a lot during the testing. If you remember those timing, each and every, it was so difficult time during the first wave. See, all this automation and all this infrastructure thing, it happened, like you see it now. But during that time, very few trained people were there. Who can extract the RNA, who can do the PCR, who can process the sample. Very few trained people were there. And most of them were like research scholars. Day and night, each and everyone has worked. I'll tell you, we used to go 10 o'clock in the morning and coming by 3 o'clock next day morning. Fine. And like, that is how it was. But yeah, for this reason only, we have been trained for this only. And like, we are proud that we were able to contribute for the for the pandemic. And
So
for
this
the
contribution would be the major contribution throughout your life, because where country was shook because of many reasons. And one of the thing, that contribution, when you give to the social impact of your contribution, it means a lot to everyone. And how to see your notable achievements throughout your career, and how to go through that once, because it would be available online on some platform. So what would be the major achievements, and how to go through these things?
So see, achievement, I see, I see it in two different ways. First way is like the achievement which surrounding sees, like other people sees. And second, which is more close to me, achievement which satisfies me. Fine. So achievement which satisfies me is how many lives I have been able to impact, how many people I have been able to help. You see, when I was in Devariya, so acute encephalitis syndrome is like, it's a very old disease, like many kids dies because of it. And they were dying because of this since many years. And doctors were using, like, the third generation cephalosporin, like ceftriaxone, ceftriaxone, all those medication to treat them. And when we went there with all the team effort, we started testing for different pathogens. In Devariya itself, we identified one organism called Orencia sugamosi. Orencia sugamosi. It causes scrub typhus. Almost 40% of the acute encephalitis syndrome patients had scrub typhus infection. And you know what? The best part, it is treatable by a doxycycline or azithromycin, 20 rupees antibiotic. Doctors were not able to prescribe it because they did not have evidence. They did not know that it's a scrub typhus and it can be treated with this. We also did a risk factor study. Like, since we identified scrub typhus, we did a risk factor study to identify risks which causes scrub typhus. That also was a big study, and like very good study, and one of the most satisfying study. We found that kids who plays in the fields, like if their house, surrounding their house, if they have vegetation, and if they goes to fields to play, if they carry, people carry, what you call, like the fodders, fodders for the animals. And also, this people use, what you call, some sort of, not wood basically, but some sort of wood only, you can say, for making out the food, right? So in Hindi, you call it jalavan, right? Like khana banane ke liye. So people who were getting all those things from outside, they were at more risk of getting a scrub typhus infection. And kids from those houses were at more risk of getting a scrub typhus infection. Above that, kids or anybody who used to go out for defecation. So go out means you will have some sort of vegetation. So they were at higher risk of getting scrub typhus. And we also found one patient during that time, that patient has come as a acute febrile illness patient. Doctor prescribed azithromycin. By some way, he was not able to take that azithromycin medicine. And 3 days later, the same patient, same boy, came up with acute encephalitis syndrome. It was a scrub typhus. It goes to brain. We have literature evidence. It goes to brain. We have found it in CSF as well. So during that time, we were able to identify scrub typhus. Almost 40% of the patient had scrub typhus, and we also were able to find risks. And government of UP so fantastically, they ordered like all the doctors right there to treat any AFI, like acute febrile illness patients, empirically with doxy or azithromycin, empirically. So this is the impact which satisfies me. Like thousands of lives has been saved because of this research. The second part of the satisfaction which I talked about, this is something which satisfies me a lot. Coming to the second point, this paper what we have published, we have focused towards like oldest people. Government changed the policy. That also have indirectly saved a lot of lives. Fine. this is something which satisfies me. Now coming to the one which everybody sees, like the world sees. I happened to the scrub typhus risk factor study, which was published in EID. It's a good impact factor journal, emerging infectious disease. Then I happened to publish this in clinical medicine. Apart from that, I have published another 3-4 papers. So these are actually, coming from a very small village like Paradi Harnath in East Champaran, and doing stuff like this, it satisfies me a lot. But the most satisfaction comes from when you impact the life, when you save lives, right? That is the most important thing. By any way, fine. So that is the one which satisfies me a lot.
So it would be the great journey that what we have discussed, and for me also that many things I have learned throughout the sessions with this a little discussion what we had. Like my point would be to you that how do you impact the current generation who are in the science background or the research background, that how they should look research like? It should not be just paper publishing orientation, like you just publish papers, you will be researcher, or you will be clinically oriented. How the researcher should be? What would be the outlook a researcher should have according to you? Might be different from different point of view, but according to you, how do you think for a researcher should be?
Yeah. So see, first of all, we are we are millennials, right? And then you have generation C, right? So first, like millennials are also like smart, but the Gen Z, they are very smart, very, 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 very smart. But one thing I see in the current generation, they lack patience, they lack perseverance, which is very important in research. Very, very, very extremely important in research. So, like I gave you example of that Rassi and that well, like you have a mark, right? No way, you cannot, like rock. No, it's rock. It can definitely damage that Rassi, but actually this Rassi damages the rock just because it keeps moving there again and again and again and again. So you see, if you want to do the science, I mean, there is a rat race. Publishing paper is important. But you see now current guidelines also are coming up. Like even UGC has come up, like no need to publish paper, and you will get a PhD. Till now, you are supposed to publish 2 to 3 paper to get a PhD. We are from that batch, right? We are supposed to publish. So a researcher means if you want to come to research field, first of all, make up your mind that you are going to solve a problem. You have to solve the problem. You take any problem and you have to solve it. Second thing, you need to have lot of patience, lot of patience. Right now, India, if you think in terms of money, it doesn't pay you well. It needs to be revised. Like researchers don't get paid very well. It's a good salary. Researchers do get good salary, but it's not decent, and it's not according to the way others get, other profession people gets with the same amount of hard work and same amount of time and whatever you consider. So my advice for the science people, like people who are like students who are studying science, keep studying, do studying. And also one more thing I see many students, like it's a time of Google. Like you say nowadays, no more God knows, Google knows everything, right? There is a saying. So apart from Google, it's very important to learn from your teachers, supervisors. You see what I want to know from my supervisor, right? He might not know that, but what he might teach me is very important for the life lessons you will not get on Google. And see what I'm talking here right now, and anybody who writes the book, very few people writes all the pain people have gone through. No, very few people talks and writes about it, right? So those sort of things you get it from like experienced people, your supervisor, your teachers, your mentors. Those things you will get from them. Many backlashes. Nobody will talk about their backlashes. No, nobody, like people doesn't talk about their failures. Very few talks about it, right? So those things are important to learn about. See, like if you keep achieving, keep going up, no, then there are two things, right? If you keep achieving and keep going, then first of all, like you will not be able to tolerate failure. Second thing, and at the same time, you will also not be able to enjoy the success.
Definitely.
Yes. So if you have failed many times and then you get success, then you will enjoy it like anything. So at the same time, you also, like my brother also tells me for the PhD, see, you have a lot of challenges, lot of blocks, many things. But the confidence which it gives you, nobody will be able to give you. No way you will be able to get it. And the way it prepares you as a individual, as a human being, no way you will be able to learn all those things. So this would be my advice: patience, perseverance. Don't underestimate anybody. Like if that person doesn't know more than Google, nobody knows more than Google. You will have some other things to learn from them. So that is very important. Patience and perseverance. You will definitely success. These two things I would tell.
We would just like to understand that how antibodies are working in the human body and how the co-vaccine which was introduced, or the vaccines which was introduced in the era of COVID vaccine, how it was helping or not helping, because there were so many myths about the vaccination, that second vaccination is not there good, third vaccination is not good, booster dose is not good. So how do you define and clear the myth in the people who are in the field of research, students of science, then it comes to the common public?
Okay. So I'll put it very simple. First of all, let's understand our body. Fine. So you see, we have heart. So let's understand, like, our entire body is a kingdom. Fine. This heart, what we have, say the heart is like king, and the brain is like minister. Like you used to have Raja and then Mantri. So think that this is the king and this is the minister. See, the heart supplies oxygen. So like king gives power to the minister to do things. So this is the brain. So it supplies oxygen, energy to the brain to do many things. So that is why I'm telling this as a minister. So when any, our body has its own defense mechanism. You have different systems. So in any kingdom, you will have different system. Like you will have armed forces, senapati, right? And then you will have somebody who collects all the taxes. Then you will have somebody who takes care of like a simple kingdom. So in our body, we have defense mechanism for all the pathogens, different pathogens. Although it needs time to respond. If you are vaccinated, it will respond faster. For example, if you see each and every us takes BCG, Bacillus calmette-guerin, like that, against MTB, right? The vaccine. So basically, it protects us against MTB. In the similar way, we have these vaccines against SARS-CoV-2. In India, we had Covishield initially with the Serum Institute of India, and then Covaxin from Bharat Biotech and ICMR. So what happens now when any new disease comes up, right? So let's see, any new disease comes up, they will enter inside your body, and your body has to respond against it. So let's see, there is a fight happening, right? Other force, like say two kingdoms are fighting. Other forces are coming with their soldiers have some talwar, right? You are responding with talwar, you will be able to win. There are chances the fight will happen in a proper way. But if the other person is coming with a gun and you are going with the talwar, what will happen? You will get killed. Right? Yeah, right. So similarly, we have responses, like our immune response against different pathogens. When SARS-CoV-2 came up inside our body, right? Our body did not know how to respond, what to do. It takes time. Like you need to understand the enemy. Similarly, if two kingdoms are fighting, they will have to find their mistake, their weakness to win over them, right? How can we win over them? So in our body, when SARS-CoV-2 came up, it was very new. We did not have any antibody, and like people are saying that MTB antibody was like kind of cross-reacting, like that. Antibodies were kind of cross-reacting, but again, evidences are not very encourageable, right? So when it came to our body started like responding, and people started like, it basically affects our lung, because since it's respiratory virus, it goes to lung, and then other parts of the body. It can infect almost, not all, but most of the organs of our body. So this is a natural infection. When virus comes up, right? It will have all its machinery. Like it will have, when you see the virus, no, like say, I'm for example, I am a what you call a soldier, right? So I'll come up with, like, I'll have my all the guns, I'll have all my bullets, right? I'll have all my protective equipments, right? So say that is a virus. But in case of vaccine, you will not have everything. You will be given just the uniform with something else. So vaccine is also something like that. You like in case if you see Covishield vaccine, which is like ChAdOx 1, chimpanzee adenovirus Oxford vaccine 1. So there it's like they have used adenoviral vector, and then they have used a spike protein of the SARS-CoV-2, and then that goes to our body, and like it will generate immune response, but at the same time, it will not be able to cause any damage to your body. Most of the time, this is what is the concept. At the same time, if you see Covaxin, it's an inactivated virus vaccine. Inactivated means its virulence. Virulence is something like virus can go and cause any sort of damage. That is called like virulence in simple term. Okay. So the virulence is kind of masked, and only, I mean, in vaccine terminology, we call immunogenicity and pathogenicity. So pathogenicity is like which will cause any disease, and immunogenicity means it will like kind of activate the immune response in simple term. So pathogenesis is masked and immunogenicity is like exposed. So when you take the vaccine, your immune system will respond, and it will be ready to fight any SARS-CoV-2 virus which will come up again. So like I told you in the example, right? So when this goes, your soldiers of your body, basically the antibodies, which is being produced by the B cells, kind of trained, because they are seeing their envelope, like envelope in the sense their uniform, and what are all the things they have on top of uniform. So our body is preparing accordingly. So which is in case of SARS-CoV-2, suppose a spike protein is the uniform. Fine. So against spike protein, mostly our body is producing antibody. Fine. So you'll have your antibody ready. And once the actual virus comes up, you already have trained immunity, in the sense like trained soldier. They will go and they will neutralize it. Now with the variant coming in, the way our body is smart, like it created, like body is secreting antibody, like B cells are secreting antibody to neutralize these viruses. Similarly, now virus is also smart. They also want to survive. Fine. So they are also mutating. So say they have, for example, see they have some 2 mm bullet. They are using a 3 mm bullet, 5 mm bullet, right? 6 mm bullet. Fine. So like I'm giving in a simple term, like simple example. So they are also expanding their horizon, like so that they can cross, they can cross the antibodies which is already produced in our body, and they still can cause pathogenesis in your body. Fine. So, but in that case also, what will happen? See, you have already taken the vaccine. Some new variant came in our body. Not totally new variant of the same virus. It will resemble. Some of it will be resemble, the previous virus. So when any virus comes in our body, our body produced antibody. For example, if you see SARS-CoV-2, in that case, our body produces antibody against a spike protein. If it's a natural infection. In case of Covishield, you will only have against a spike protein. But in case of Covaxin, it's a buffet vaccine. Like it's the same virus, but in inactivated form. So you will have antibody against, in case of Covaxin, antibody against a spike protein, envelope protein, nuclear protein. So there are different proteins against which our body will produce antibody. Fine. Virus is mutating the spike protein, for example. But our body will also have antibody against envelope and nuclear protein, So even though they enter, they will be able to cause some sort of symptoms. Our body will be able to mask it very efficiently. Why? Because they already have some sort of earlier training to fight with these viruses. Until it is not a totally new virus, until it is not a totally new virus, I don't see it as a big problem. So that is how you see many paper publishing like it is 70% efficient or 80% efficient against this variant or that variant. That is because you have already trained immunity. And there is another like something called T cell immunity. That is another thing. And that is again, that immunity also helps, but that is another, if I explain that, it will take a lot of time. So that is another immunity, like innate immunity, which kind of that also masks like these infections and response against these infections. So that is another thing. So that is why, I mean, if you get any variant, there is nothing to worry about until it's some very, very, very major and very major mutations. Little bit mutations means our body can take care of it, provided you have been vaccinated or you have already been infected earlier.
So thank you so much. That would give a detailed information to all of the students who are going to watch this. It will help them in a very detailed way that how they should understand the process of antigen and antibody reaction in our body. So with this, we would like to end our the journey exploration session with you. And thanks to you that you have come on the platform and share your journey with all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Bhavit, Dr. Bhavit. It was nice being with you. Hope to do more with you. Thank you.
Thank you.